folks, and welcome to Homesteader News. Hey, the weather finally cleared up here. The snow's off the ground. Time for me to get busy making some more projects to help you folks out. Today what we're going to be talking about is how to install a basic propane system like I use in my off-grid cabin. The system is very similar to what they use in RVs. So I'm going to show you how that's hooked up and what appliances you can use that work off of propane, like on-demand water heaters, furnaces, stoves, other appliances like that that make living off-grid a whole lot easier. I'm also going to be doing some videos on 12-volt appliances that you can run off a small solar system like I use in my cabin, so that you don't need to use as much propane, or you can completely eliminate propane and go completely with solar and maybe some wood heat. I'm going to show you how to do that in these next series of videos. Now, I am not a propane specialist, okay? I'm just an off-grid homesteader. So the information I give you is just friend to friend. I would recommend that before you install propane, if you're going to do it yourself, go talk to a professional specialist that works with propane. He can tell you what equipment you need, what pipes you need, what fittings you need, and how to put it in safely. Or you can pay a propane specialist or a natural gas installer to come up to your place. They'll install it for you. It's going to cost you a little bit of money, and that's why I try to teach people how to do it themselves. But do it safely and follow the guidelines that they give you for installing propane, because I sure don't want to see anybody hurt. Now, the information I'm going to give you is pretty much all in my book, and so I hope you'll all go to my website, www.simplesolarhomesteading.com, pick up a copy of my book. I've got this now for $5 for the ebook, okay? The printed book is 355 pages. The ebook is the same, 355 pages. All the information's in there, along with full color pics, descriptions of everything, all the systems in my cabin, including propane, where to get the appliances, what appliances you want to look for, that sort of thing. So please go to my website, www.simplesolarhomesteading.com. Pick up a copy of my book. I would recommend the ebook, which is a whole lot cheaper than the printed book, but if you want the printed book and the ebook go really well together. Okay, so let's go install a small propane system. Okay, folks, you're looking at my off-grid propane system, and this sits at the back of my cabin here, and they recommend that you put your tanks at least 5 feet away from any opening that the gas might drift through. So this is more than 5 feet away from my door there, and they recommend you put these at least 10 feet away from any source of ignition. So if you have an air conditioner, an electric outlet, or anything like that on the outside of your house, you want to put this at least 10 feet away from that. Okay. And what these are 7-gallon tanks. These are real common use for camp trailers and RVs, and that's what I use. And I use basically the exact same system that they use for RV camp trailers for my off-grid cabin. And what we have here are 7-gallon tanks, and they make these tanks in other sizes. You can get the smaller ones. I don't recommend those. Those are usually just used for barbecues. You can get the bigger ones up to 25 gallons, but theirs are awful hard to haul around by yourself. 2 of these 7-gallon tanks can be carried by one person, so that makes them pretty convenient when you need to go refill them. You can also get the big yard tanks, and those come in anywhere from 100-gallon size clear up to 300 to 500 gallons. And you can have those installed by the propane company, and they'll come up and refill them. And but if you get one of those, then they usually require that you have those installed by a propane specialist or a natural gas specialist, and they'll run steel lines for the gas to your house, and then they'll use copper lines inside. Now I'm going to show you how to set up the copper lines for a basic system like mine. But I use these portable tanks because I like to go and fill them myself, and they're very convenient that way. I can always take these down and find propane just about anywhere in town anymore. I can find propane. When I first installed this system, propane was about $1.35 a gallon, and so it was real inexpensive to use propane for almost all my needs. Now propane has went up to about $2.50 a gallon, and so it's not as inexpensive. So I'm going to be reducing some of my propane use. But before I do anything with the appliances inside, I wanted to show you how a basic propane system is set up. Now what you have here is these tanks have what they call a Opd valve on them. And this is required for all new propane tanks. And what this Opd valve is it has a bleeder valve on it, and it is designed specifically for newer systems. If you have one of the old tanks that has the round or the octagon shaped nozzle on it, you'll need to get it changed out for one of these Opd valves. They can do that for you at the propane company. All the newer tanks have these Opd valves on them. Okay? And then you'll have your neoprene type hoses usually, or a copper hose coming off of them. and then they will go down to the regulator, which you can see right here. And this is a dual valve regulator. And what the regulator does is it controls the pressure coming out of the tanks. You don't want them coming out at full pressure. That wouldn't be good and would be a waste of propane. And so the regulator controls the amount of pressure that's coming out of the tanks. And then as you can see, I've got two hoses that come off of those tanks. And those two hoses are hooked up. And what I've got is a double system, so I've got two different tanks hooked up. Now that's convenient because what I do is I open up one tank, and when it gets low I switch over to the second tank. Now they do make these with an automatic regulator, which you can get, and it'll do the switch over automatically for you from one tank to the other. And what that allows me to do is, you can see I've got 5 tanks sitting here. I have one tank on. I switch it over to the other tank, take the empty off, put another one on. When I get down to just one tank, then I take 4 of these down, and I get them refilled all at the same time. Then I bring them back up. So with the amount of propane that I'm currently using, I go through about one of these 7-gallon tanks every week. That's about how much I use during the winter time. And that runs my furnace, and I'll show you my other appliances inside. That runs my furnace, my fridge, my stove, my on-demand water heater. Now, if I run the fridge all the time, I'd have to go through 2 a week. But right now, I'm taking out the propane fridge. I'm going to be putting in a 12-volt fridge instead. So I'm only using about 1 tank every week. So about $15, $16 a week during the winter time. In the summertime, I don't run the heater, and the heater is what takes up a lot of propane. I use hardly even one of these a month during the summertime. But during winter time, you can count on using at least one of these every week. If you're running a fridge, you're going to use about 2 of these every week. That gets kind of expensive, so that's why we're going to reduce some of our propane use. Now, you can get all of these parts here. You can get at any RV supply store or Home Depot. You're going to need the regulator. Get a good one. Don't go with the cheapo barbecue regulators. Get a good regulator. I would suggest the double system so that you can take one tank off, put another one on, and still have propane always running into your house. Then as you can see, I use the new neoprene line to run it over to the house. And then I've got a double line running in there. And the reason I have that is because I have one line that runs into my furnace, and then I have another line that runs over to my on-demand water heater, my fridge, and to my stove. I will show you how to connect a basic copper line connection for the inside of the house. That's what's recommended. These neoprene lines are available, but what they really recommend is a copper line that runs from the tanks over to the house. I went with the neoprene because it was easier for my needs, and I already had the neoprene pipe, and that's what they use on RVs, and so, you know, that's what we decided to use. Now, what propane is, inside each of these tanks is 7 gallons of LPG, called liquid propane gas. Propane is actually a liquid. It's put in under pressure. When it's sent back out of the tanks under pressure, then it becomes a gas. And that gas is very clean, burns very efficiently, can be run for lots of appliances. It's generally considered a green product because nobody drills for propane. Propane is a byproduct of oil production and natural gas production. If they didn't use propane this way, it would have to just be burned off as a waste fuel, which isn't good for the environment. So you're actually helping the environment by using propane. However, it's not the cleanest of alternative fuels. Solar and wind power is a lot cleaner, of course, and so we try to reduce how much propane we use as much as possible. But if you need a system for just a basic system for your cabin, this is the system that will work for most people. You can get propane just about anywhere. However, it is more expensive, and it is a fuel, and you're going to have to go down and drive to some place to get it filled up, unless you haven't put in a big tank and come fill it up for you. Okay, let's go inside and I'll show you what kind of appliances we run off this.